now going down to the 20,000-foot level, future tech landscape. So now we're going to get into things that you can probably relate a bit more to. So what is the internet of the future? Now, let's rewind 20 years, okay? It's now 1998. Hell, let's rewind it even further, 1995, or even 1994. We are at a enhanced communication summit, okay, or the internet summit. We're here, pioneers of the internet, and I'm talking about what the future of the internet is. It would be nigh on impossible to really forecast the true impact the internet will have. Yes, you can probably extrapolate that we'll be able to talk to each other a lot easier, cheaper, faster, longer distances, etc. But really, you'd have no idea how you could do dating. You could hire things through the internet. And there's a guy called Clifford Stoll who is a prominent sort of techie forecaster. And he in a very public article on Newsweek, it says here, 26th of February 1995, he said, "Visionaries see a future of telecommuting workers, interactive libraries, and multimedia classrooms. They speak of electronic town meetings and virtual communities. Commerce and business will shift from offices and malls to networks and modems. And the freedom of digital networks will make government more democratic." Baloney. How wrong was he? But the thing is, how freaking accurate was this guy? That's the scary bit. He knew his shit, but he just refused to believe it. That is exactly what has happened 20-odd years forward. And so I can sort of relate to that on a trading sense. So there's a common, or the well-known phrase of the 90-90-90. So with trading, 90% of people lose 90% of their capital in the first 90 days. There's stats and facts to back that up. And what we also have are stats from all of the trading brokers. Now, believe it or not, people, the retail market, us lot, we are actually correct more than we are wrong. So they can see who is long on euro dollar or Bitcoin or whatever, the FTSE, etc., or who's negative or bearish on it, etc. And most of the time, we are correct. We can see what's going to happen, but we are very poor at executing and holding onto a winner or cutting our loser short, etc. And so when we are really trying to extrapolate what may happen, we are actually quite accurate sometimes. Just like this guy was. He was bang on point, except for his pessimistic baloney comment at the end. So a lot of the things you see online at the moment saying, hey, cryptos could be this future and that future and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it will happen. Just give it time. But the thing is, the reason why most people cannot get their heads around this whole paradigm shift is because of linear thinking. Humans do not think in an exponential sense. We think in a linear sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our brain does not understand 1, 2, 3, 10 million, 8 quadrillion, 9 kabillion, if that's even a word. Martika, if you could Google kabillion at some point, let me know afterwards. So we just don't think that. And so when people go, what is the future of the camera like? So what they do mentally is go, right, what has the progress of the camera been for the last 5 years? And they're going, oh yeah, it's sort of gone from like 1 megapixel to 20. Okay, so the next 5 years will probably go to 100 megapixels, etc. When in fact, tech growth, a lot of tech follows Moore's law, so things double in price and halves in cost every 18 months. It's an exponential growth. VR is the perfect example of this exponential disappointment / eventual chaos and amazement. So I remember going to Great Yarmouth. It's a dive. I live like 15 minutes away from it. But I don't know what age I was. I was small because I remember yeah, anyway. There was a virtual reality game thing in one of the arcades. And at the time, I was amazed. It was like 2D. I had this massive helmet on. It was in a big old cage type thing. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And what happened to VR? It buggered off for the next 20 years. It did if you can put that slide back up, it was well and truly in that disappointment phase for a long, long time. And a lot of people thought, oh, what's the future of VR? So they thought, oh, after the last 5 years, we've gone from nothing to this cool little thing. In 5 years' time, it's going to be amazing. But no, it disappeared. And if you all have heard of the the Gartner Tech Adoption Cycle. It's worth Googling. I should have put it in here, but I only have till 1 o'clock. So the Gartner Tech Adoption Cycle. So, and this is why we don't humans, we don't understand it. You cannot think what's happened over the last 5 years. Okay, let's extrapolate that for the next 5. And that is why I'm standing here saying I don't know what cryptos will be like in 20 years' time. I couldn't possibly imagine the problems that we'll have to solve using tech that we don't have right now, which will be built on tech which we don't have, if that makes any sense. And some of you already seen this chart. I don't know if the video people can zoom in on it. This is why I think Visa is absolutely screwed. I read an article about one of the Visa people saying how cryptos are a long, long way away from displacing us. Now, Visa does roughly 24,000 transactions per second, okay? So if we look at this and we look at their growth, Visa has grown in a linear sense. It's supply and demand. They go, right, what's the demand? The demand, we will match the supply. And they've been very linear. So over here, obviously, we have TPS over time. And for the last 5 or 6 years, I mean, Visa have been very acutely aware of cryptos, not just recently, but over the last 5 or 6 years, or since it came around, really. And it's been like this, and they're like, oh, cryptos will never do anything. It can, like, Bitcoin averages 3 transactions per second, etc. And even with the Generation 2 DLTs like Ethereum, etc., that can possibly do hundreds or thousands of transactions per second, they're like, oh, it's nothing. Especially when half the planet comes online, we're going to be into the hundreds or if not millions of transactions per second. But it's exponential. We are growing in an exponential rate. And the thing is, the second it hits this moment here, in fact, it's way too late here. Like, it's even too late here. So really, if Visa wanted to maintain control of their network, they should have pivoted and embraced DLTs back in 2012, really. And so by the time a good globally scaled daily use crypto matches Visa, like, it will be, oh, by the way, we can do 24,000 transactions per second. Next week, it'll be like, oh, we just had a little tweak, we can now do 1 million. 2 weeks later, we can now do 2 billion transactions per second. In fact, it's unlimited. It doesn't matter. And that is the rate that's what exponential growth does. It just catches us from left field.